Okay, we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. This is the first solo CM of the day. Let's get in there. I don't want to talk about that. It's fine. Alright, let's get the Elder Maw spec. 1 and 2. And Scythe, and now we start the walk around. Pitiful Scythe swings right now. Holy. Unfortunate UPS right there, honestly. But yes, as I was saying, we still have to work out that Vasa teleport skip. I should have the tile marker marked down, so we'll see what happens when we get there. Come on now, I've hit 2 Elder Maw specs. Obviously the first one's guaranteed. Where are the hits? Okay, these are a little bit more like it, but still not... Okay, a 0? A 0. Am I missing some gear or something? No, I have everything on. Just unfortunate. Just unfortunate. Finally, it's down. Alright, let's grab the overload and enhance. Instantly sip those. Ancestral top and bottoms on. T-bow and quiver. So we can get this going for the first crab. First crystal. Alright, let's bring all the crabs over here. Stun this one into place. Stun another one into place. Shadow out. That's why we had the ancestral swapped preemptively. That's the second crystal. Walk this one down here. Those ones should be stunned into place. That mage one, there we go, disappeared back into the white crab. Alright, we got the nothing crystal. Lock this into place, stun it. And lure the fourth crab that was just lurking on the other side of the room to the melee crystal. There we go. Alright, we have 2 anglers that we brought in with us. We're just gonna eat those. Top ourselves off. I'm gonna try and fix my inventory here. It's a little bit all over the place. We are gonna scav here. We're not doing anything too crazy. I'm gonna scav with my shadow. In which I actually don't know how many charges are in it. Let's check right now. You know, surely a healthy amount. 14.9k. Okay, we must have charged it at some point. Don't really remember when I did that, though. Alright, we are going to want those planks. Juice and mushrooms, obviously. I do want a tiny bit more juice. In fact, quite literally just one more. But we're getting planks instead. Okay. We have enough planks to make the biggest chest. And we got even more planks to spare, but we're going to swap into our melee gear with the Emberlight now. Pick up the mushrooms from both stacks. We're ready to go. We got our melee gear and Emberlight on for Ice Demon. I'm going to go ahead and build this chest right here. The massive storage unit. We're going to chuck the pots and the secondaries into storage, then deposit the rest into private storage. Now we can start chopping kindling. Make our way over to the tinder box here. That's 28 kindling. Well, let's light one of the braziers. Let's go for another 28. All in the meanwhile, we still are Varlamore pickpocketing the wealthy citizens. We're now up to 1.8 mil GP, just shy of it actually, and nearly 1,300 house keys. We are going to have to do the house portion of this thieving activity at some point, but I just can't be bothered right now. Alright, that's another 28 kindling, and then we'll just chop as much as we can. If we're lucky, we'll get another 28. If not, it's fine. But when the percentage here drops to 35%, that's going to give us ample time to deposit into the brazier and then withdraw our gear. Not if we're not paying attention and no longer chopping. Okay, there's a lot of room for error though. A lot of room to gear up again. So actually it's 22% now, the deposit. Drop the axe in the tinderbox, go into my private storage here, withdraw all, and there's a couple of things I don't need. Mostly the things at the bottom here. Go into shared and get the overload and enhance. We are going to Emberlight spec it once, I think. Unfortunately, we miss. Also get our thrall going. I'm still not accustomed to using the Emberlight here. Like, the timing is a bit odd in my opinion. But it's not too complicated. Alright, that is Ice Demon down. Pretty good hits right there, honestly. Moving on into our range gear with the ZCB out. Actually, scratch that. No ZCB. I forgot we're a light bearer now, so we don't actually have spec back yet, unfortunately. Alright, we have the first shaman safe spotted, fortunately. Easy enough. So we don't need to pray range. We're just going to stand here, summon our thrall, and T-bow this bad boy down. You know what? I don't even think we're going to have spec for the second shaman. Okay, our overload ran out, so we're going to reset that. Same thing with our enhance. Wow, our T-bow's absolutely noodling right now. What was that, like 3 zeros? You know what? Maybe we will have spec for the second shaman after all after that. Okay. We should be able to lure that one also into the safe spot. Very nice. And yes, we do have spec up. We may as well use it, I think. No, it's just a 40. Okay, perhaps we should not have used the ZCB spec there. Don't need the overhead up. Alright, both shamans down. We're going to pick up the Buchu seeds. Thank you very much. I'm going to grab everything. 4 is the shortcut key. Plant in both patches just in case one goes down early. We don't need the dibbler, the rake, or the seeds anymore. We do need the spade though, obviously. Reposition the scythe into a better location for my inventory. We're going to dump the spade and the pots in shared, then deposit everything else. Spade back out, 13 juice and 8 mushrooms. Then fill our inventory up with vials. Drop 4 of those, fill the rest of the vials with water. The exact reasoning as to why I do that is because it's the exact amount of vials I'll need, 21. All the vials are filled. We're going to deposit 10 into shared real quick just to make room for the Buchu. We're going to grab 8 Buchu to start off with real quick to make our 8 revitalizations. We're at 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's start making those restores, those revitalizations. Same thing. Just a different name in Chambers for some reason. Xerics aids, Ceradomin brews, same thing, right? Same concept. I'd put those away, take out the 10 water vials we deposited earlier. We got 13 vials in our inventory now, and we have 13 inventory spaces for the Buchu. We're going to fill our inventory up here. Inventory is filled, and we can clean the Buchu and make our brews as we run into the next room. This 13 brew 8 restore number is definitely an overprep, but I did need to use that amount at one point in time, and I just still keep doing it just because it's nice and easy to do. Just in the name of consistency. Okay, we can withdraw everything now. I don't need the Emberlight or the Defender or the Hammer or the Staminas or the Pickaxe, but we do want the ZCB and Thralls. We're going to take out our Overload and Enhance. Always got to have those. 1 Restore and 2 Brews should do the trick here. Preemptively brew up here. By the time we get to the Vanguards, our stats should be topped up again. We're going to open up with a ZCB spec. Just kidding, we don't have spec. Again, no light bearer. I'm not really accustomed to that, but that is the new setup we roll with now. So instead we're going to T-bow, and then we're going to try and get one more shadow hit on the melee right there. Let's follow the Ranger. And I forgot to summon my Thrall, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Our Scythe just hit an absolutely massive number, and we have reset the Vanguard. That's quite unfortunate. You never really expect the Scythe to hit that hard on the Vanguards, but I mean, there it is. Alright, we do have spec now, so perfectly calculated. We're going to spec the Major. Stand under the Ranger so it doesn't attack us. The Ranger's the only one in which you can stand under to avoid hits. Bit of a sketchy situation here as we were under fire from 2 of the Vanguards. We're okay though. I did brew up to be safe. I'm actually not sure what my Scythe max hit is, but I mean, as you can see from those last 2 swings and even this third one here, it's actually very unlikely that I hit a big number, so it really was unfortunate that I reset the Vanguards there. Enhance is running out. We'll get that going again. That was a huge T-bow hit. I could probably do one more, actually. Okay, Overload expired. We're gonna take care of that. Again, the range Vanguard, the green one, is the only one in which you can step under it. The other ones will try to path away and get you again. Something unique to that, I suppose. Prayer's running a little low, we'll restore. One Vanguard down. Oh, it just absolutely smacked us. Let's forget keeping our stats up. Let's make sure we stay our lives. Okay. 2 Vanguards down. Last one is the Ranger. I may have swapped prayers a little too early there and just ate a bunch of damage. Honestly, a pretty rough Vanguards right now, but you know, we're not dead. And we're not trying to speed through everything, so as long as we're not dead, that's what matters. Alright, we're going to make room. Our previous Overload Enhance we can drop. Make sure we grab all the brews and revits. So again, talking about my prep earlier being an overprep, it most definitely is an overprep, especially considering that I do end up picking everything up in the Vanguard's room. Could be a different story if I didn't do that, but you know what? More brews and restores in the shared storage means more room for error, or just in the event that we get incredibly unlucky, which does happen sometimes. Alright, we're going to put the pots in shared. We'll take some of those back out later. We're keeping all our items on us, though. In solos, we're going to need 30 grubs. And if you want to get through the thieving room a little bit quicker, you do want to put grubs in as soon as you can, even if you don't have the 30. As long as the scav is constantly feeding on the trough, it's going to speed it up a little bit. Rather than, you know, grabbing all 30 grubs, or the 28 that you can hold anyways, and then depositing all at once. That's going to take longer. Other than that, I mean, it's the thieving room, you know? Like, it's not all that complicated. Alright, that's 31 grubs, a little extra to be safe. Okay, so we're gonna go into private here, and we do need the pickaxe and defender, and 1 stamina. Then we're gonna take the overload and enhance 2 rivets and 1 brew this time, so the inverse of what we took to Vanguards. And we'll make our way to Vespula. Let's check our quick prayers real quick. We do want redemption and augury on, in which we do. We're going to open up with our range gear with the ZCB spec though. So let's do the switch into the gear. ZCB hits, fantastic. Rip our 7-way, I think that's a 7-way. Maybe an 8-way actually, into our mage gear. Don't ask me how to do Vespula the other method, because I quite literally do not know how. This redemption method is the only way I know how to do this room. And I'm actually sure that's the case for most people. The boss is dead. Pick up the aids and the restore. As we run towards Tightrope, we're going to take the opportunity to heal up here. We're not doing any Tightrope skip, so that's another reason why we prep and have all those brews. We're not doing anything crazy. Let's deposit this 2-dose restore and bring out a full brew, leaving 1 inventory space to pick up the crystal. And then, like I said, we're going to do Tightrope the good old-fashioned way. We're just going to be clearing out the mages and the rangers. The only little bit of tech I introduce here is that I do step out of range to trade 1-to-1 with my T-bow and the mob's hits. They do have a lower attack rate or a faster attack rate, so if you don't step out like this, you're going to end up taking a lot more damage. Alright, that's the majors done. The rangers do hit like an absolute truck, so as such, this is what I do. I actually step out, attack, and switch into my Oath plate, which is tankier range defense than the Missouri. I also make sure to keep my health up at all times. You can actually let the rangers shoot their projectile first, and while it's in the air, you can brew. And if you do that, that way you're never going to die, because it's never going to hit more than the health that you have before you brewed. So right here, we're 22 health. I'm going to brew here, and it ended up hitting me at 22, but because I brewed, I'm 19 health. That actually worked out so well. As I was explaining it, it did exactly what I wanted it to do right there. Pretty cool. Alright, we grabbed the crystal. We're going to brew up here. Guardians is, I mean, a 0 damage room, but you know, just in case. Imagine dying to Guardians, that'd be tragic. Alright, so right here though, we are going to sip the stamina and deposit it back into storage to make room. We're going to want 2 restores in our inventory and fill the rest with brews. This one's actually a 3-dose restore right here, but it's not going to matter too much. We really only need 1 restore and some change. And if you want to put in the extra effort, arguably you only need the 1 restore, to be honest. Especially since we have the prayer enhance going. Okay, so this is going to be new territory for me after Guardians here. I'm going to try the Vasa teleport skip. Now, as far as I'm aware, all I have to do is make sure I go into the next room right away and instantly run to that tile. Basically not miss any ticks, so we'll see what happens. But the Guardians room itself should be the same. I suppose I just have to be a little bit more mindful when I do the finishing blow to this room though, just so I'm ready. Also, we're going to swap the ZCB up there, because we are going to open up Vasa with a ZCB spec. And let's change the ZCB back to rapid, because we don't need the extra range anymore. I just realized I have my scythe in my inventory, in which I definitely didn't need that. So that's a wasted inventory space right there as well. That should have gone into private. And in fact, that should have gone into private right after I did Vanguards. Okay, here we go, here we go. So I immediately run towards the door. And on that top, okay. I think it's okay if I mess up like that, but I have to be... Alright, I have to be on the tile for a tick. Boom. Run back. I did it. I think I did it. I think I did it. Yes, sir, I did it. Okay, that's not that complicated. Alright, I do have to drop the overload, though, so I can equip my Debo. I could probably mark it one tile further. Also, I don't know, I guess I'm like so focused on the Vasa teleport and just like talking while doing this raid. I do need the scythe. I completely forgot about this. So how many times have I done this? I scythe the Vasa crystals. I don't know how I overlooked this. Alright, first Vasa crystal down. Switch into our range gear. If we can get one more decent hit here, okay, we hit a 0. Alright, we're gonna have to do another Vasa crystal. All because I couldn't do a 21 with my 1.5 bill, maybe even 1.6 right now, mega rare range weapon, along with my max range gear as well. Just couldn't do a 21. That's now a 74. Oh, it's 21 again? This time we get the job done. Alright, cool. Okay, we're gonna sip the enhanced, drop it. We're gonna start chugging some brews here. And the restore, actually. We're gonna drop this restore, pick up the new overload and the 2 brews. Oh, we needed to... We needed to overload again, alright. Sometimes my overload timing, depending on the speed of the raid, is a little bit different. I think we're a bit slow right now, so I wasn't expecting my overload to run out right then and there. Well, that's fine. Okay, we're going to swap into our mage gear for Skeletal Mystics. If you didn't know, if you have the choice between Shadow and Twisted Bow, if you don't have the salve, the max mage setup is better than the max range setup. We're gonna eat on our 15s here, so 415 on the overload timer. That's what people mean when they say eat on the 15s. You know, I feel like I've seen a lot of people say eat on your 15s in Chambers, and a lot of people don't understand what you're talking about, right? Because honestly, like eat on your 15s, there's like a whole bunch of different numbers in the raid. Like what are you talking about, right? When people say eat on your 15s, you're looking at your overload timer here and not like the raid timer or anything like that. That's because every 15 seconds, look, so 346, 345, our stats just went from 104 attack, for example, to 120. Shadow's not hitting very hard right now. So they're on 330, I could have brewed right there. I was a little slow though, so I didn't go for it. I'll probably try to sip on 315 here. So there we go, 315, sip the brew. And because we eat right then and there at that timing, our stats never go down. Which seems like a very minor thing, but keeping your DPS up actually is very, very important. Like when your stats are fully potted up at 120, it's a huge difference actually. Alright, that's Skeletal Mystics done. Let's swap into some tank gear here for Muttadile Room because, well, Muttadile Room just hits like a truck. Okay, I'm actually very surprised with myself that I got the tendril skip there. I felt like I didn't wait a tick. Now we're just going to be doing Muttadile the good old-fashioned way as well. We're chopping the tree. And here we're disregarding the eat on 15s thing, at least while we're chopping the tree, because, like I said, Muttadile hits like a truck, and it seems like we can never have enough health here, you know? We could be sitting at 90, and all of a sudden we go down to 30. It's 56%. It resets at 50 and goes for the tree to heal, so we're not gonna hit it there. The tree is now dead though. We're gonna summon a thrall. Let's get into our mage gear. The Muttadile is 4 tick, and we're attacking with a 5 tick weapon, so we're gonna be stepping under. We're also flicking into some tanky armor in between our shadow hits, just to, you know, preserve our health as much as we can. Alright, that's the baby Muttadile done. We're gonna ZCB the Momadile here to start with. Which I'm currently questioning if I should do that, as we're getting absolutely smacked right now. I'm just gonna brew, play it safe. It might turn the corner, it does not, okay. But yeah, I'm questioning whether or not to do that ZCB spec, because we're not rocking a light bear, so are we even gonna have spec for Olm P1? I don't know. I really don't know. Anyways, that's Muttadile room complete. 2630 and some change, heading towards Olm now. Again, we're not speeding through this by any means. In fact, you know, like, so someone probably would have finished this raid like 3 minutes ago, you know, on a speed run. But we're just heading into Olm now. And you know what? The Grandmaster solo CM time is like 38 minutes and 30 seconds. It is absolutely free these days. And I know I'm in max gear, but I've gone the solo CM time before the Cox changes and before max gear relatively easily. Alright, we do need the Elder Maul. We're going to sip this stamina just as we did before and put it back in. We are going to take the 4-dose one out though. We're going to smuggle this bronze axe out of here, because why not? Overload, enhance, 2 restores, and a brew. That's pre-pot. So that we can bring as many supplies in as we can while being as healthy as we can be. Alright, we're good to go with 2 restores and 5 brews. We're gonna swap into our melee gear. Looks like we do have spec back, so that's good. Gonna open up with a spec. The way I start Ohm, I am gonna tank 1 hit here on P1, that's okay. And now we mage run. We actually have the good spawn here in the sense that we're gonna do the 12-0 mage running 2 times, and the 8-1 method 1 time. I believe our mage max hit is a 75. Oh, that's mage hand done. And summon our melee thrall. And we're just gonna 3-to-1 scythe here, which is not the most efficient thing to do, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The 3-to-1 scythe method is the same idea as the 4-to-1 with any 4-tick weapon. But the scythe is a 5-tick, so I suppose you could do this with a fang too if you wanted to, but you probably shouldn't be using a fang in solo CMs. Not for Olm anyways. Alright, those prayer orbs absolutely sapped our prayer, unfortunate. And to sip a restore dose there. There we go. P1 completed. Let's get our maul out ready for P2. And we'll also brew up a little bit here, because we know we're going to take damage to the mage running. No avoiding that. There is avoiding these falling crystals, though, so let's try to make sure we don't take any silly damage from that. Alright, start at P2. So, the method of starting my P2 and how we're going to start P3 is actually the exact same as how we start P1, but the difference is in P1 we do tank a hit, so we are ready for that when that happens. So right here we're going to be tanking a hit. I should have swapped in my Missouri there as I was praying range. That was actually a very fortunate location for that portal to show up on. It let me stay in cycle. Very nice. Alright, that's the mage hand down. I'm a little slow on my switches right now, so I'm going to make sure to turn the head first and then rip my switches. Very humble tank right there. I believe in the solo CM, Ohm's max hit is a 43, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so it did auto us twice there, so I'm going to 1-to-1 here. And I think we should be good now. Yep. That is an unfortunate bomb. So we're just going to make the head turn over here on the other side. To avoid the damage there, and we'll just get back in the cycle. $26 health, so we are going to brew right there. Don't want to chance it. Alright, that's P2 done. Overload ran out, so let's go ahead and get that up and running again. And looks like we will have one maul spec for P3. Hopefully it lands. It does not. Typical, typical. Let's get our Mage Thrall running. The Mage Thrall is essential for this shadow running method. I think I was... No, I'm... Okay, I thought I was slow there, but I'm not. We're good. Let's go ahead and sip our stamina. Restore as well. We're sitting on 4 prayer right there. Alright, while we're not going to be taking damage during the mage running here, 12-0, I am going to brew on my 15s here in preparation for taking damage during the melee phase. Also, we're on P3 here, I'm just reminding myself, because last time I was talking on a P3 doing the mage hand, I just ended up finishing it and resetting the hand, which is not something you want. Like that, okay, alright, you know. I didn't see what my second to last hit there was, so that was unfortunate. I had to mute my mic there for a second, but yeah, that was just a silly mistake. But luckily, we're pretty comfortable with the boss now, so even accounting for a mistake like that, which is usually really make or break for people. Luckily, our supplies are looking good here. And we should be okay. As long as we don't continue to make those kind of mistakes again in the same raid. We're going to tank a hit there. Alright, we're going to be working on the mage hand again, hopefully. Let's not reset it, yeah? I think it would be in my best interest not to do that. That's the thing about the shadow, you know? It just hits like a truck, sometimes to your own detriment. Again, it helps to know your max hit. Mine's a 75. So right here at 61, I'm actually not going to hit it. Because of our mess up, we actually did get another hammer spec there, but not that it matters because it hit a 0 anyways. I wasn't sure if I was in cycle there or not, so I was expecting a second hit and I brewed just in case, but looks like we are in cycle and we're getting smacked still anyways. We're about to get hit here, so I'm going to brew, even though it's not on my 15s. Better safe than sorry. Alright, one more scythe swing, perhaps. Alright, let's rip our switches into the mage to finish this hand as soon as possible. Alright, no resets this time around. Let's get our range thrall going. And we're going to be 4-1ing the T-bow on head phase. And we also have to maneuver a little bit here to avoid too much poison damage from the acid trail. Alright, so a little bit of a goof here. I'm just gonna brew. Trying to avoid dying. We're gonna stamina pot just in case. Okay, I'm actually not in cycle here. I done goofed. We should now, though. We're going to tank a hit. Should be safe on this side. Now we got the falling crystal, so a whole lot of mechanics just piling on us right now. A 22, that's not very nice. The burn is also not very nice. Honestly, despite our stats, you know, not being up all the time, our T-bow's just noodling regardless. Very unfortunate hits here. Also, we are forced to brew because I keep dropping below the max 43, which I'm not willing to risk, you know? But there we go, head phase done. That was not very clean. We get a deck scroll. Okay. Rewarded for our efforts, I suppose. Wow, this thing is 33.4 mil, or 33.6 mil. It went up a little bit, I suppose. But that was a 38-minute raid. Very, very slow. But you can see, we reset the mage hand, and it was a slow raid in general, and we still beat the GM time, so easy enough. Let's open the collection log here. Anytime I get a unique, I like to screenshot my log as a little update. That was KC 1212 for challenge modes anyways.